Admiral Kazak stood on the command deck of the Strian warship Dominance, his 4 eyes fixed on the holographic display of a small blue planet. Earth, as its inhabitants called it. So much water, so many resources, and yet so little protection. It seemed almost too easy. Why has no one claimed this world yet? He asked, his scaled fingers tapping against the metal railing. 17 systems we have conquered, and not once have we found an untouched world so rich in resources. Commander Vexer, his second in command, stepped forward. Our intelligence is unclear, Admiral. The data suggests several advanced civilizations have approached the solar system over the centuries, but none have attempted invasion or colonization. It is unusual. Kazak turned all 4 of his eyes toward Vexer. Unusual. It is suspicious. Have the long-range scanners detected any defense systems? Any evidence of advanced technology? Nothing beyond primitive satellite networks and basic space stations, Vexer replied. Their most advanced weapons are nuclear missiles that would barely damage our smallest ships. Their detection systems cannot even identify our presence at this distance. Kazak returned his gaze to the hologram, zooming in on the continents, the cities, the evidence of a civilization that had barely reached into its own orbit. Something didn't add up. The galaxy was full of predator species, expansionist empires like their own. Why would they all ignore such a prize? Bring me the humans, he ordered. Minutes later, 2 figures entered the command deck. They walked like Strians, spoke like Strians, but their skin lacked scales and they had only 2 eyes each. Captain Aaron Miller and Lieutenant Grace Parker had been taken from Earth 30 years ago during a routine abduction mission. Unlike most specimens, they had adapted well to life among the Strians, eventually earning positions in the intelligence corps. You called for us, Admiral? Miller asked, standing at attention. His accent still carried traces of his original language despite decades of speaking the Strian tongue. Your world, Kazak said, gesturing to the hologram. Tell me why it remains unconquered. The 2 humans exchanged glances. We've been away a long time, Admiral, Parker said. Earth had no contact with alien civilizations when we left, at least none that the public knew about. Kazak made a dismissive gesture. Not your limited knowledge of alien contact. I want to know why other species avoid your world. Our scouts report warning beacons at the edges of your solar system. Not human beacons, much older, much more advanced. Miller frowned. This is the first we're hearing of this, sir. Of course it is, Kazak hissed. Your kind barely understands how to leave your own atmosphere. You wouldn't notice the subtle signs that keep predators at bay. He turned to face them fully. I am assigning you both a mission of critical importance to the Empire. Both humans straightened their posture. You will return to Earth. You will integrate into human society. You will discover why your world remains untouched by galactic powers. Find out what protection it enjoys and how we might overcome it. Parker looked concerned. Sir, after 30 years, we may not fit in anymore. Earth society will have changed. Then you will adapt, Kazak said coldly. You have served in our intelligence operations for decades. This should be simple by comparison, returning to your own kind. Miller nodded. We'll need updated information on Earth culture, sir, and a suitable cover story for our reappearance. All arranged, Commander Vexer said, handing them each a data tablet. You will be inserted in a region called Colorado. Your cover identities are as siblings returning from working abroad. We have created appropriate documentation and digital histories. You leave in 6 hours. As Miller and Parker reviewed their mission parameters, Kazak turned to a different display showing a small fleet of scout ships approaching the edge of Earth's solar system. While our human assets conduct their investigation, we will perform our own tests, he said quietly to Vexer. Send 3 scout ships past the warning beacons. Let us see what happens when we ignore these mysterious warnings. Vexer looked uncomfortable. Admiral, if there is indeed some force protecting this world, then we should know its nature before committing our invasion fleet. Kazak finished, I am not proposing we attack blindly, Commander. Merely that we probe for weaknesses. 3 days later, Aaron Miller felt Earth soil beneath his feet for the first time in 3 decades. The Strian dropship had left them in a remote forest outside of Denver, along with supplies and currency to establish their new lives. Earth air smelled different than he remembered, sweeter, less processed than the recycled atmosphere of Strian ships. I never thought we'd come back, Grace said beside him, her eyes scanning the tree-line. I had accepted that I would die among the stars. Aaron nodded. Does any of it feel familiar to you? Not really, she admitted. I was 22 when they took me. I'm 52 now. Everything feels smaller. They made their way to the road where a car waited for them, an autonomous electric vehicle pre-programmed with their new address. As they drove toward civilization, both were struck by how much and how little had changed. The buildings were taller, the vehicles sleeker, but people still walked their dogs, still gathered in parks, still lived their lives unaware of the vastness of the galactic community. Their new home was a modest 2-bedroom house in a suburb of Denver. The Strian attention to detail was impressive. Family photos had been digitally altered to include them, mail with their names was waiting, and the refrigerator was stocked. How long do you think we have before the invasion? Grace asked as they settled in. Aaron looked out the window at the peaceful street. Depends on what we find. And what those scout ships discover. Kazak isn't one to wait long, though. And where do our loyalties lie now? She asked quietly. Aaron didn't answer immediately. 30 years was a long time. He had built a life among the Strians, had even come to respect certain aspects of their culture. But standing on Earth again, watching a mother push a stroller down the sidewalk, hearing birds sing in trees. Let's just focus on the mission, he finally said. Find out why Earth has been left alone all these years. That night, as they slept in their separate rooms, a notification came through on their Strian communicators. The message was brief and encoded, but its meaning was clear: all 3 scout ships sent to test Earth's defenses had gone silent. No distress signals, no debris detected. They had simply vanished. On the Dominance, Admiral Kazak ordered a second wave of scouts to investigate. Whatever protected Earth, the Strian Empire would not be so easily deterred. The invasion planning would continue. And on Earth, Aaron Miller dreamed of stars and ships and ancient eyes watching from the darkness between worlds. Tomorrow, the real investigation would begin. The morning sun filtered through unfamiliar curtains as Aaron Miller opened his eyes. For a moment, he forgot where he was. His hand reached instinctively for the scaly texture of his Strian sleeping mat, but instead touched soft cotton sheets. Earth. He was back on Earth. In the kitchen, he found Grace already awake, studying a tablet filled with local news reports. Sleep well? She asked without looking up. Well enough, Aaron replied, pouring himself a cup of coffee. The taste was stronger than he remembered. Anything useful in the news? Grace shook her head. Nothing obvious. No mentions of aliens or mysterious disappearances near the edge of the solar system. If Earth is protected by something powerful enough to destroy Strian scout ships, the general public doesn't know about it. Aaron nodded, looking out the window at their new neighbors starting their day. We need to make contact with military or scientific authorities. That's where we'll find answers. I've been working on that, Grace said. There's a research facility about 30 miles from here, Boulder Advanced Sciences Lab. According to public records, they study atmospheric anomalies and space weather. Could be a cover for something more interesting. Good place to start. How do we get in? Grace smiled. I've already applied for a job in their administrative department. The Strians created excellent false credentials for us. I have an interview tomorrow. Aaron raised an eyebrow, impressed. And me? You'll be making friends with the locals. Starting with our neighbor across the street, John Rivers, retired Air Force colonel. Later that morning, Aaron found himself helping John Rivers fix a broken sprinkler system. The older man had a weather-beaten face and strong hands that spoke of a lifetime of work. "Appreciate the help," John said as they dug around the buried water line. "Not many neighbors would jump in like this, especially new ones." Aaron shrugged. "Happy to help. I've been away from the States for a long time. Nice to feel useful." "Overseas work," your sister said. "Yeah, private security and consulting. All over Europe and Asia." The cover story flowed easily from Aaron's lips. The Stryans had trained him well. "Military background?" John asked, eyeing Aaron with new interest. "How could you tell?" John laughed. "Takes one to know one. The way you stand, the way you assess situations. Old habits die hard." Aaron smiled. This was the opening he needed. "You serve?" "Air Force. 30 years. Retired as a colonel 5 years ago." "Must have seen some interesting things in 30 years of service." John's expression changed subtly. "Some things I can talk about, some I can't. That's the nature of the job." "I understand." "Security clearances," Aaron said. "Had a few myself over the years." They worked in silence for a few minutes before John spoke again. "You ever see anything you couldn't explain while you were overseas? Something that made you question what you thought you knew?" Aaron looked up, surprised by the question. "I might have." "Why do you ask?" John wiped sweat from his brow. "Just curious. The world's a strange place. Bigger than most people realize." Before Aaron could probe further, John's phone buzzed. He checked it and frowned. "Rain check on the rest of this repair. Something's come up I need to handle." "No problem," Aaron said, watching as John hurried inside his house. Through the window, Aaron could see him making a call, his expression serious. Meanwhile, at the Stryan command ship, Admiral Kazak received disturbing news. The second wave of scout ships sent to investigate the disappearances had found only debris, scattered molecules where 3 advanced warships should have been. "Analysis?" Kazak demanded. A science officer stepped forward. "The pattern of molecular dispersion suggests the ships were destroyed by some form of directed energy weapon, Admiral. But the energy signature doesn't match any known technology in our database. Could it be Earth technology? Some secret defense system?" "Unlikely, Admiral," the officer replied. "The energy patterns contain elements that exceed even our theoretical understanding of physics. Whatever destroyed our ships is beyond our current science." Commander Vexer, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "We've intercepted a communication from a passing Nebulan trading vessel, Admiral. They detected our presence in this sector and sent a message intended for any nearby ships." "Show me," Kazak ordered. A holographic message appeared showing a nervous Nebulan captain, "Attention unknown vessels near Sol system. You are approaching restricted space. The third planet is under protection of the Watchers. No contact, no interference permitted. Ignore at your peril. We lost 3 ships to them in the Great Cycle 887. There were no survivors." Kazak's expression darkened. "The Watchers. What are these Watchers?" "Unknown, Admiral," Vexer admitted. "But we're finding references to them in other intercepted communications. Many species seem aware of them, but information is sparse. They appear to be some form of ancient species or collective that has declared Earth off-limits." Back on Earth, Grace returned from her job interview looking troubled. "I got the position," she told Aaron. "Start tomorrow." But something strange happened during the interview. "What?" Aaron asked, putting down the local map he'd been studying. "When the interviewer stepped out to make a copy of my ID, I noticed a file on her desk. It was labeled, Protocol Omega. I only caught a glimpse, but it contained images of what looked like Strian ships. Aaron's eyes widened. Are you sure? Positive. And there was a date stamp on the file, yesterday's date. They know about the scout ships, Aaron said quietly. Someone on Earth knows the Strians are here and is tracking their movements. That night, as they discussed their findings, Aaron's phone rang. It was John Rivers. Hey neighbor, John said, his voice casual. Got some friends coming over for a barbecue tomorrow. Veterans mostly. Thought you and your sister might like to join us. Get to know some locals. Sounds great, Aaron replied. We'll be there. After hanging up, Aaron turned to Grace. I think we're being watched. That was too convenient. Should we abort? Contact the ship? Aaron shook his head. No. This is exactly what we need. These people know something. Tomorrow we find out what. As darkness fell over Earth, neither Aaron nor Grace noticed the brief flicker of light in the night sky, a pattern of stars that shifted momentarily before returning to normal. High above, something ancient and patient observed the small blue planet and the new visitors who had come seeking its secrets. In the vast blackness of space, Admiral Kazak made his decision. He would not be deterred by ghost stories of watchers. He ordered a fleet of 100 warships to prepare for arrival in Earth's solar system. Whatever protected this world would soon face the full might of the Strian Empire. The next day arrived with clear skies and a sense of purpose. Aaron and Grace prepared for their separate missions, she for her first day at the research facility, he for the barbecue at John Rivers' house. Both felt the weight of what was at stake. Be careful, Aaron told Grace as she gathered her things. If they have files on Strian ships, they might be looking for infiltrators. Grace nodded. You too. These military types John's bringing over, they could be counterintelligence. Don't let your guard down. They parted ways, each heading into unknown territory. The Boulder Advanced Sciences lab impressed Grace with its modern design and tight security. After receiving her badge and completing orientation, she was shown to a desk in the administrative department. Her job seemed simple enough, processing research requests and managing schedules. The perfect position for gathering information. During her lunch break, Grace casually explored the facility. Most doors required special access, but she noted the layout, the security patterns, the conversations that stopped when she walked by. Everyone seemed on edge. In the break room, she met Olivia Chen, a researcher with tired eyes and a friendly smile. First day? Olivia asked, pouring coffee. That obvious, huh? Grace replied with a practiced laugh. We don't get many new faces, Olivia lowered her voice, especially not since the incident. Grace raised an eyebrow. Incident? Olivia seemed to catch herself. Nothing. Just budget cuts, you know how it is. She quickly changed the subject, but Grace filed away the slip. Something had happened here recently. Meanwhile, Aaron arrived at John Rivers' backyard to find a gathering of about a dozen people. Most were men in their 50s and 60s with the confident bearing of career military. John greeted him warmly. Aaron, glad you could make it. Where's your sister? New job, Aaron explained. Couldn't get away. John nodded and introduced him around. General Frank Dawson, Colonel Pete Sandoval, Major Ellen Wright, all former high-ranking officers from different branches of the military. Aaron noticed they all wore the same small pin on their collars, a simple blue circle. The conversation flowed naturally at first. War stories, complaints about civilian life, discussions of current events. Aaron played his part perfectly, sharing edited versions of his supposed overseas experiences. He felt they were testing him, watching for inconsistencies in his story. After an hour, General Dawson pulled him aside. John says you've spent most of your adult life abroad. That's right, Aaron confirmed. Private security work, mostly. And before that? Army. 8 years. Nothing special. Dawson studied him. You ever see anything strange while you were deployed? Anything that couldn't be explained by conventional means? The same type of question John had asked yesterday. Aaron decided to take a risk. Maybe. Why do you ask? Dawson exchanged glances with John. Just curious what a worldly man like yourself makes of recent events. What events would those be? Aaron asked innocently. Before anyone could answer, every phone at the gathering buzzed simultaneously. The mood shifted instantly as the men and women checked their devices. We need to cut this short, John announced, all pretense of casual hospitality gone. Sorry folks, duty calls. As the gathering quickly dispersed, Aaron caught sight of what was on John's phone, a notification with the words, Omega Protocol, Stage 2, and an image that looked like Mars. Back at the research facility, similar alarms were sounding. Grace watched as Olivia and other researchers rushed to secure terminals and gather in conference rooms. Through the glass walls, she could see urgent discussions and frightened faces. When Grace returned to her desk, her supervisor was waiting. Ms. Parker, your security clearance has been expedited. The director wants all hands on deck for this situation. He handed her a new badge, one with blue trim. What situation? Grace asked. Briefing in 5 minutes. Conference room C. Inside the packed conference room, Grace saw a large screen showing what appeared to be satellite imagery of Mars. And in orbit around it, unmistakable Thrian warships. The facility director, Dr. Alan Nash, stood at the front of the room. For those just joining us, 30 minutes ago our deep space monitoring detected a fleet of unidentified craft establishing orbit around Mars. Based on their configuration, they matched the vessels observed during the 2047 Quebec incident and yesterday's outer system encounter. Grace's heart raced. The humans not only knew about aliens, they had been tracking the Thrians specifically. Dar. Nash continued, Protocol Omega is now at Stage 2. All personnel should prepare for potential Stage 3 escalation. We've already notified the appropriate channels. A young researcher raised his hand. Sir, should we attempt communication? Dr. Nash's expression was grim. That's not our decision to make. If history is any indication, they will communicate when they're ready. Grace realized with a sudden shock that Dr. Nash wasn't talking about the human authorities. He was talking about something else entirely. In space, Admiral Kazak stood on the bridge of his flagship, now orbiting the red planet the humans called Mars. This was a statement of power, a show of force. From here, they could observe Earth's reaction to their presence. Any response from the humans? He asked. None, Admiral, Commander Vexer reported. Their primitive detection systems have undoubtedly spotted us, yet they've launched no ships, sent no transmissions. It's unusual. Perhaps they know they are outmatched, Kazak suggested. Or perhaps they're waiting, Vexer said quietly. For what? For whoever destroyed our scout ships. That evening, Aaron and Grace reunited at their house, both bursting with information. They know, Grace said immediately. The research facility has been monitoring Thrian ships. They called yesterday's scout ship destruction, the outer system encounter. Aaron nodded. The military veterans know too. Something called Protocol Omega. Yes, that's what they called it at the lab. They said it's now at Stage 2 because the fleet is orbiting Mars. Aaron paced the room. But here's what I don't understand. There's no panic, no public announcements. If Earth detected an alien fleet in their solar system, why isn't there mass hysteria? Grace sat down, her expression troubled. Because they've seen this before. They mentioned something called the 2047 Quebec incident. And they're not preparing defenses, Aaron added. They're waiting for something else to act. The Watchers, Grace whispered. As darkness fell, they stepped outside to look at the night sky. Somewhere up there, the Strian fleet waited at Mars. And beyond that, something ancient and powerful that even the Strians didn't understand. Aaron's communicator beeped. A message from the fleet. Admiral Kazak was growing impatient. The full invasion force would arrive within days. Time was running out to discover Earth's secrets. Aaron woke to the sound of his communicator buzzing urgently. The message was brief and direct: full fleet arrival in 18 hours. Report findings immediately. Admiral Kazak was done waiting. Across the room, Grace was already dressed and checking her new security badge. "I need to get back to the facility," she said. "With the Strian fleet at Mars, they've called in all staff. This might be our best chance to learn what Protocol Omega really is." Aaron nodded. "I'll try to reconnect with John Rivers. He and his military friends disappeared pretty quickly yesterday when those alerts came through." They shared a look of understanding. After 30 years serving the Strians, neither had expected to feel conflicted about their mission. Yet here they were, uncertain about where their true loyalties should lie. "Be careful," Aaron said. "You too," Grace replied. "And Aaron, whatever happens today, whatever we learn." "I know," he said softly. "Things are changing." When Grace arrived at the research facility, the atmosphere was tense but controlled. Everyone moved with purpose, and security had been doubled. Using her new clearance, she accessed areas that had been off-limits before. In one laboratory, she found Olivia Chen analyzing data from deep space sensors. "More ships are coming," Olivia said without looking up. "Bigger ones." Grace kept her expression neutral. "How do you know?" "Pattern recognition. We've seen this behavior before. First come the scouts, then the observation vessels, then the main fleet." Olivia finally looked at Grace. "The Quebec incident followed the same pattern." "I don't have clearance to know about Quebec," Grace said carefully. Olivia hesitated, then spoke quietly. "In 2047, a different alien ship, not like these ones, tried to land near Quebec. It never made it to the ground. Our military shot it down." Olivia gave a strange smile. "No. We didn't do anything. They did. They." Before Olivia could answer, an alarm sounded through the facility. Red lights flashed in the corridors. "Protocol Omega Stage 3, announced a calm voice over the speakers. "All personnel report to secure stations. This is not a drill." Olivia grabbed Grace's arm. "Come with me. The observation deck is the best place now." They hurried through crowded hallways until they reached a large room with wall-to-wall windows facing the sky. Dozens of researchers were already there, some with binoculars, others watching data feeds on tablets. "What are we looking for?" Grace asked. "Just watch," Olivia whispered. Meanwhile, Aaron had tracked down John Rivers at a small diner on the edge of town. The former colonel sat alone in a corner booth, nursing a cup of coffee and watching the sky through the window. "Mind if I join you?" Aaron asked. John didn't seem surprised to see him. "Figured you might show up." "Sit." Aaron slid into the booth. "You left in a hurry yesterday. Had somewhere to be. Something to do with Omega Protocol." John's eyes narrowed. "Where did you hear that term?" "I saw it on your phone," Aaron admitted. "And I'm guessing it has something to do with the ships currently orbiting Mars." A long silence stretched between them. Finally, John sighed. "You're not who you say you are you?" "Neither are you, I suspect." John nodded slowly. "I'm part of a group that monitors certain situations. The barbecue yesterday, those weren't just veterans. We're all members of the Sentinel Project. After the Quebec incident, the world's governments quietly formed a response team for extraterrestrial contact." "And what exactly is your response?" Aaron asked. I don't see missile launches or fighter jets scrambling. Because those wouldn't help, John said simply. We learned that the hard way. In the beginning, our weapons can't touch their ships. Then what's Protocol Omega? John looked at his watch. It's an observation and documentation protocol. We track incursions, we gather data, and we wait. Wait for what? For them to handle it. Like they always do. In space, Admiral Kazak stood proudly as the main Strian fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. 100 warships, the pride of the Empire, ready to claim Earth for the glory of Stria. Still no response from the humans, he asked. None, Admiral, reported Commander Vexer. And still no sign of these supposed watchers that the intercepted communications mentioned. Superstition and psychological warfare, Kazak dismissed. The weak always invent powerful protectors to frighten away the strong. Vexer looked unconvinced. Admiral, the scout ships were destroyed by some. Kazak interrupted. Earth defense system we haven't identified yet. Nothing more. Begin the approach to the third planet. Full invasion protocols. The massive fleet began its move inward, past the orbit of Neptune, then Uranus. Back on Earth, at the research facility observation deck, Grace watched as Dr. Nash addressed the gathered staff. The main fleet has arrived, he announced grimly. Based on their trajectory and speed, they will reach Earth orbit in approximately 3 hours. All Sentinel Project personnel worldwide are now on alert. What about evacuation plans? Someone asked. Dr. Nash shook his head. There's nowhere to evacuate to. If the Watchers don't intervene, as they have in the past, we face a full-scale invasion. Grace felt a chill run down her spine. The humans were putting all their faith in these mysterious Watchers. At the diner, Aaron's communicator buzzed again. He checked it discreetly and saw a message from Admiral Kazak ordering all field agents to prepare for extraction before the invasion began. John noticed his reaction. Got somewhere to be? Aaron made a decision. John, I need to tell you something. Those ships, the ones coming to Earth, I know what they are. John's expression didn't change. You're one of them. Or working for them. It wasn't a question. Aaron nodded slowly. How long have you been on Earth? John asked. I am from Earth, Aaron said. Born in Kansas. But I was taken 30 years ago, along with others. We were repurposed. And now you're their spy. I was. But something's changed. Aaron leaned forward. John, you need to tell me about the Watchers. What are they? Why do they protect Earth? Before John could answer, both men noticed something strange happening outside. The afternoon sky was darkening, not like a storm, but as if the light itself was being bent and twisted. In space, as the Strian fleet passed the asteroid belt, instrument panels across multiple ships began to malfunction. Strange readings appeared and disappeared. Admiral, a sensor officer called out, voice trembling, we're detecting anomalies. What kind of anomalies? Kazak demanded. Space-time distortions. Readings that don't make sense. It's as if, the officer never finished his sentence. 3 Strian warships at the front of the formation simply vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged, but completely removed from existence. What happened? Kazak roared. Where are those ships? Unknown, Admiral, Vexer replied, his voice shaking. They're just gone. On the observation deck of the research facility, everyone had fallen silent. The sky above had taken on a strange rippling quality, like the surface of water. It's starting, Olivia whispered to Grace. The Watchers are responding. Chaos erupted aboard the Strian flagship as more warships began to disappear. Not 3, not 5, but 7 more vanished in an instant, leaving no debris, no energy signatures, nothing to indicate they had ever existed. Evasive maneuvers. Admiral Kazak shouted. All ships, defensive formations. But the Strian fleet's disciplined response fell apart as ship captains witnessed something none of their training had prepared them for. Objects appeared in space around them, impossible structures that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Geometric patterns of light and dark matter that shifted and changed as if alive. What are these things? Commander Vexer whispered, his 4 eyes wide with terror. On the bridge screens, sensor officers struggled to explain what they were seeing. They don't register as ships, Admiral. They don't register as anything we can classify. Their energy signatures are beyond our understanding. Kazak had never known fear in battle, but he felt it now, a cold, primal dread that reached deep into his ancient reptilian brain. Open fire, he ordered, his voice hoarse. All weapons. Target those things. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes launched from dozens of Strian ships, directed at the strange objects. The weapons passed through them as if they weren't there, continuing into empty space. Another 5 warships vanished. On Earth, the sky continued to ripple and shift with strange colors. At the research facility observation deck, Grace stood transfixed along with everyone else, watching the heavens transform. Are those the Watchers? She asked Olivia. The scientist nodded. This is only a fraction of their presence in our reality. Most of what they are exists beyond our perception. What exactly are they? Dr. Nash answered from behind them. We don't know. Not really. They've never communicated directly. Our best theory is that they're an ancient species, perhaps one of the first intelligent beings in the galaxy. They seem to consider Earth some kind of preserve. Like a wildlife sanctuary, Olivia added. A place where evolution can proceed without interference. Grace thought about her years with the Strians, about Admiral Kazak's fleet now facing something far beyond their understanding. And they protect Earth from all alien threats. They have every time, Dr. Nash confirmed. The Quebec incident was our first modern confirmation, but we've found historical evidence suggesting they've been doing this for thousands of years. At the diner, Aaron and John stood outside watching the strange sky. Other people had come out too, pointing and taking pictures with their phones, but none of them truly understood what they were witnessing. This is what happened in Quebec? Aaron asked. John nodded. Smaller scale, but yes. The ship never made it through Earth's atmosphere. Just ceased to exist. Above them, the sky pulsed with impossible geometries. Aaron felt his communicator buzzing frantically, messages from the fleet, from Admiral Kazak, all increasingly desperate. How many ships are up there? John asked quietly. 100, Aaron replied. The finest warships in the Strian Empire. John corrected. I don't think there are many left now. In space, Admiral Kazak stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his mighty fleet disappear ship by ship. Half were already gone, 50 warships erased from existence without a trace. The remainder huddled together in a tight formation, but even that provided no protection. Admiral, Commander Vexer said, his voice barely a whisper, we need to retreat. Now. Kazak's pride warred with his survival instinct. The Strian Empire had never retreated from any battle. But this wasn't a battle, it was an execution. All ships, he said finally, the words like poison in his mouth, withdraw to hyperspace jump coordinates. Emergency retreat protocol. As the surviving Strian vessels attempted to flee, more vanished. By the time the fleet reached the edge of the solar system, only 37 ships remained of the original 100. They jumped to hyperspace in panicked haste, leaving behind no trace of their presence except for the scattered molecules of their destroyed comrades. On Earth, the strange phenomena in the sky gradually faded. The rippling patterns of light disappeared, and normal blue returned to the heavens. At the research facility, researchers began to relax as their instruments registered the departure of the alien fleet. It's over, Dr. Nash announced. The incursion has been repelled. Grace felt a strange mixture of relief and sadness. Relief that Earth was safe, sadness for the Strian soldiers who had simply been following orders and now no longer existed. At the diner, Aaron's communicator had gone silent. Either the fleet was destroyed or had retreated beyond communication range. Either way, his mission was over. What happens now? He asked John. Now. You have a choice to make, John replied. You can try to contact whatever's left of your fleet, report back to your superiors. Or you can stay. Help us understand what's out there. The Watchers protect Earth, but they don't communicate with us. We could use someone with your knowledge to help us prepare for the next time. Aaron looked up at the now normal sky. Somewhere out there, Admiral Kazak was either dead or humiliated, his great invasion force reduced to a handful of survivors. The Strian Empire would not soon forget this defeat. There will be a next time, Aaron said. There always is, John agreed. The question is, which side will you be on? That evening, Aaron and Grace met at their house to discuss their impossible situation. Both had witnessed the power of the Watchers, both had seen the Strian fleet crushed like insects. The certainties of their old lives had crumbled in a single day. I keep thinking about those ships, Grace said, staring out the window. All those people, just gone. Not killed in battle, not destroyed by weapons. Simply erased from existence. Aaron nodded grimly. 63 ships. Thousands of Strian soldiers. Families, friends, beings with hopes and dreams. All eliminated because they followed orders to invade a protected world. Do you think Kazak survived? Maybe. If his ship was among the 37 that escaped. Aaron sat down heavily. But even if he did, this defeat will destroy him. The Strian Empire doesn't tolerate failure on this scale. Grace turned from the window. So what do we do? We can't go back. Even if we could contact the fleet, what would we report? That Earth is protected by ancient beings so powerful they can erase ships from reality itself. The truth, Aaron said quietly. As impossible as it sounds. And then what? Do we stay here? Do we try to rebuild lives on the world we were taken from 30 years ago? Before Aaron could answer, there was a knock at their door. They exchanged glances. No one should know they were here except their Strian handlers, and those handlers were either dead or fleeing through hyperspace. Aaron opened the door to find John Rivers standing on their porch, along with two other people he recognized from the barbecue, General Dawson and Major Wright. Evening, Aaron, John said calmly. Mind if we come in? We have some things to discuss. Aaron stepped aside, and the three military officers entered. Grace emerged from the kitchen, immediately tense. Ms. Parker, General Dawson nodded to her. Or should I say, Lieutenant Parker? We know who you both really are. Grace's hand moved instinctively toward where she would normally carry a weapon, but found nothing. How long have you known? Since yesterday, Major Wright replied. Your cover identities were excellent, but not perfect. A few inconsistencies in your digital histories, some medical records that didn't quite match. The Sentinel Project has been tracking potential alien infiltrators for decades. John sat down uninvited. The question isn't how long we've known. The question is what we do about it. Aaron remained standing, ready for trouble. Are we under arrest? That depends, General Dawson said. On whether you're still working for the Strian Empire or if today's events changed your perspective. The fleet is gone, Grace said flatly. 63 ships destroyed, the rest fled. We have no way to contact our handlers, no extraction plan, no mission left to complete. That's not what I asked, Dawson pressed. I asked about your loyalty. Aaron and Grace looked at each other. 30 years of service to the Strian Empire, 30 years of believing in their cause. But in a single day, they had seen that Empire's forces swept aside like dust by powers beyond imagination. We were soldiers, Aaron said finally. Following orders, serving what we believed was a just cause. The Strians saved us from death when we were taken, gave us purpose, position, respect. But, John prompted. But watching those ships disappear, knowing that thousands of beings were simply erased from existence, it changes things, Grace finished. Whatever the Watchers are, they're not just protecting Earth. They're enforcing something much larger. Some kind of cosmic law we don't understand. Major Wright leaned forward. The Sentinel Project has been studying this phenomenon for decades. We believe the Watchers aren't just protecting Earth, they're maintaining some kind of galactic order. Preventing advanced species from interfering with developing worlds. A quarantine system, General Dawson added. Earth isn't the only protected world. We found evidence of similar restrictions around other planets with developing intelligent life. John pulled out a tablet and showed them star charts marked with red zones. These are all solar systems that various species have declared off-limits. Not because of military defenses, but because of the Watchers. They seem to preserve worlds where evolution is still progressing naturally. Aaron studied the charts. So Earth is like a nature preserve on a galactic scale? Exactly. And we, humanity, are the endangered species being protected. Grace frowned. But that means we're prisoners on our own world. Unable to expand, to explore, to join the galactic community. For now, Wright said. The protection seems to last until a species reaches a certain level of technological and social development. We think we're approaching that threshold. How do you know? Aaron asked. John smiled grimly. Because the Watchers have started communicating. Not directly, but through subtle signs. Changes in background radiation patterns, modifications to our satellite orbits, astronomical phenomena that shouldn't exist. They're preparing us for something. For what? Graduation, General Dawson said. The end of the protection period. Within the next few decades, humanity will either advance enough to join the galactic community as equals, or what? Or we'll be left to fend for ourselves against species like the Strians, Wright finished. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth's protection wasn't permanent. Humanity was in a race against time to develop the technology and wisdom needed to survive in a hostile galaxy. That's where you come in, John said to Aaron and Grace. You have knowledge we need. 30 years of experience with advanced alien technology, military tactics, galactic politics. You could help us prepare. Assuming we agree to help, Grace said carefully. Why wouldn't you? Dawson asked. This is your home world. These are your people, even if you've been away for 3 decades. Aaron walked to the window, looking out at the quiet suburban street. Children playing in yards, families having dinner, people living normal lives completely unaware of the cosmic drama playing out around them. What exactly are you proposing? He asked. Full debriefing on Strian technology and capabilities, Wright said. Analysis of their military structure, their expansion patterns, their weaknesses. Information about other species you've encountered. Everything that could help humanity prepare for what's coming. And in return, new identities that will actually hold up to scrutiny, John replied. Real integration into human society. A chance to help protect the world you were born on. Grace joined Aaron at the window. There's something else, isn't there? Something you're not telling us. The 3 officers exchanged glances. Finally, General Dawson spoke. The Strian Empire won't give up after one defeat. They'll study what happened here, develop countermeasures, return with better prepared forces. This attack was just the beginning. How do you know? Aaron asked. Because it's what we would do, Wright said simply. Any military organization would. The question is, when they come back, will humanity be ready? Aaron and Grace stood in silence, weighing their options. Return to a life of exile and uncertainty, or help their birth world prepare for the challenges ahead. We need time to think, Grace said finally. Of course, John stood up. But don't take too long. The Sentinel project needs to begin planning immediately. Every day we delay is a day less to prepare. After the officers left, Aaron and Grace sat in their living room, each lost in thought. What do you think? Grace asked eventually. I think they're right about one thing, Aaron replied. Admiral Kazak won't accept this defeat. If he survived, he'll be back with a larger fleet and better preparations. The Strian Empire has never encountered anything like the Watchers before, but they're adaptable. And if they find a way to counter the Watchers' defenses? Aaron looked out at the peaceful street again. Then Earth will face the full might of the Strian Empire with nothing but primitive human technology to defend it. So we help them? I think we have to, Aaron said slowly. Not just for Earth, but for all the other worlds the Strians plan to conquer. If humanity can stand up to them, it might inspire other species to resist as well. Grace nodded. Then we stay. We help. And we hope it's enough. As night fell over Earth, both former Strian agents made their choice. They would stand with humanity, sharing their knowledge and experience to help their birth world prepare for the conflicts to come. In the depths of space, the shattered remnants of the Strian fleet limped toward home, carrying with them the impossible news of their defeat. Admiral Kazak, if he still lived, would have to explain to the High Command how the Empire's finest warships had been erased from existence by unknown forces. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, ancient intelligences observed and waited, their purposes inscrutable but their power undeniable. The Watchers had protected Earth once again, but their guardianship would not last forever. The time of humanity's testing was approaching, and when it came, the species would stand alone against the challenges of a hostile galaxy. Whether they would rise to meet those challenges or fall to forces beyond their understanding remained to be seen. But for now, on a small blue planet in an unremarkable solar system, life continued. Children played, parents worked, lovers met, and dreamers gazed up at the stars, unaware that those same stars held both wonders and terrors beyond imagination. The story of Earth's place in the galaxy was just beginning. 6 months later, Aaron Miller stood in a secure briefing room deep beneath the Colorado mountains, addressing a gathering of military leaders, scientists, and intelligence officials from around the world. The Sentinel project had expanded rapidly, incorporating resources and personnel from every major nation on Earth. The Strian Empire operates on a strict hierarchical system, he explained, gesturing to holographic displays showing ship configurations and command structures. Their weakness isn't technological, it's cultural. They can't adapt quickly to unexpected situations because independent thinking is discouraged among lower ranks. In the audience, Grace Parker, now officially Dr. Grace Parker, xenological advisor, took notes while monitoring the reactions of the assembled officials. Some looked skeptical, others fascinated, but all seemed to understand the gravity of the situation. What about their likely response to the defeat at Earth? Asked General Morrison, the current head of Sentinel Project Operations. Aaron paused, considering. If Admiral Kazak survived, he'll be fighting for his career, possibly his life. The High Command will demand answers, explanations, solutions. They'll likely approach the problem from multiple angles: better surveillance of the Watchers, development of new weapons systems, possibly even attempts at negotiation or infiltration. Infiltration? Dr. Nash from the Boulder facility looked concerned. You mean more agents like yourselves? Possibly, Grace replied from her seat. But they'll be more carefully prepared this time, with better cover identities and more sophisticated technology. We should assume that some are already here, or will be soon. The briefing continued for several hours, covering everything from Strian psychology to their manufacturing capabilities to their relationships with other species. When it concluded, Aaron felt both exhausted and oddly hopeful. Humanity was taking the threat seriously, mobilizing resources and intelligence in ways that impressed him. As the officials filed out, John Rivers approached him. The former Air Force colonel now served as Aaron's primary liaison with Sentinel Command. "Good work today," John said. The president's science advisor was in the audience via secure link. "She's convinced Congress to approve the expanded funding we requested." "How much expanded?" Aaron asked. John smiled. "Let's just say humanity is about to make some very rapid technological advances. We're pulling in the best minds from every field: physicists, engineers, xenobiologists, military strategists. If the Watcher's protection is going to end soon, we'll be as ready as possible." That evening, Aaron and Grace walked through downtown Denver, observing the ordinary life of a city whose inhabitants had no idea their world had been invaded, defended, and marked for future conflict. Street musicians played on corners, couples shared dinner in restaurants, children ran through parks while their parents watched and smiled. "Do you ever regret it?" Grace asked as they paused to watch a group of teenagers playing basketball under streetlights. "Choosing to stay?" Aaron considered the question. "Sometimes I miss the certainty we had before. Serving the Empire, believing in a clear cause, knowing our place in the universe. But watching those kids play, seeing families together, observing humans just living their lives. I remember why Earth is worth protecting. The Stryans gave us purpose, but humanity gave us something else." "What's that?" "Hope," Aaron said simply. The Stryans conquered through force, ruled through fear, expanded through domination. Humans dream of exploration, cooperation, growth. If they can survive what's coming, they might actually make the galaxy a better place. Grace nodded, then pointed up at the stars visible between the city lights. "Speaking of what's coming, look." Aaron followed her gaze and saw what she meant. 3 stars that should have been stationary were moving slowly across the sky, too regular in their motion to be natural phenomena. "Monitoring satellites?" he asked. "Probably. The Watchers have been more active lately. Dr. Nash thinks they're preparing to reduce their protection gradually rather than ending it all at once. A transition period." "Exactly. Giving humanity time to develop defenses while slowly reducing the level of protection. Like training wheels coming off a bicycle." Aaron watched the moving lights until they disappeared behind buildings. "I hope we're ready." "We will be," Grace said with conviction. "We have to be." As they walked home through the quiet streets, neither noticed the figure watching them from the shadows of an alley. The observer's eyes reflected the streetlight strangely, and when it moved, its gait was subtly wrong for a human. After Aaron and Grace passed, the figure spoke quietly into a device hidden in its clothing. "Subjects confirmed," it said in perfect English, though its accent carried undertones no human throat could produce. "Both are actively cooperating with local authorities. Recommend immediate extraction and interrogation." The response came through a nearly invisible earpiece: "Negative. Continue observation. New orders are to gather intelligence on human defensive preparations. The Empire requires detailed intelligence before the next engagement." The figure melted back into the shadows, becoming one with the darkness. Across the city, in hidden locations, a dozen other observers received similar instructions. The Stryan Empire had indeed learned from their defeat. This time, they would gather intelligence carefully, study their enemy thoroughly, and prepare for a conflict that would determine the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galactic balance of power. The real war for humanity's future was about to begin. But for tonight, in a small house in a Denver suburb, 2 former aliens slept peacefully in the beds of the world they had chosen to defend, dreaming of stars and hoping that when the testing time came, humanity would prove worthy of the protection it had enjoyed and the freedom it sought to earn. Outside their window, the stars wheeled in their ancient patterns, watched by eyes both human and alien, as the galaxy held its breath and waited to see what would unfold in the small solar system that had become the focus of so much attention. The story of Earth and the Watchers was far from over. It had only just begun.